Ο κύριος Κάρλος Ρουίζ θα είναι κοντά μας, είναι οικολόγος με έργο στα απειλούμενα είδη. Ο ίδιος από το 2015 εργάζεται στο πρόγραμμα Olivares Vivos, is that right? Okay. Olivares Vivos, με σκοπό τη διατήρηση και την αποκατάσταση της βιοποικιλότητας των ελαιώνων. Γι' αυτό το πρόγραμμα θα μας μιλήσει για την ανάκτηση της βιοποικιλότητας των ελαιώνων και την βελτίωση της κερδοφορίας και το συγκεκριμένο μοντέλο που σας ανέφερα, το Olivares Vivos. Please.
Good luck with the phones.
A new. Καλημέρα και σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ για διοργανή του συνεδρίου. Μπορώ να μιλήσω σήμερα. Είμαι πολύ χαρούμενος. Τώρα μιλάω στην αγγλικά. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Thank you very much. First thing, I want to start apologizing because I want to apologize because we have some issues with the compatibility of the presentation, and some of the fonts, some of the titles have started dancing in the slides this morning, dancing some kind of rebetiko. I have tried to fix it, and I think it will be enough to be readable and understand what I want to tell you. So I would like to tell you about Olivares Vivos, which is a project that is aiming to recover biodiversity and to transform it into profitability for the farmers. The project has started 7 years ago, and in this presentation I will go through the main lines of work that we have been doing during all these times. Let's start saying something that we all must have very clear. We are all involved in the olive groves, but you just have to know that olive grove is a key agroecosystem in Europe, and I will say more than this. It's the most important crop in Europe for biodiversity. It's the most extending permanent crop, and as you can see in these maps, it's distributed in the most biodiverse region of Europe. There are millions of families that rely on this crop, and it represents a decisive part of the economy and the culture in the Mediterranean rural areas. But despite this important role of the traditional olive groves, it has serious problems. They suffer from environmental problems. There is a loss of soil. There is problems of erosion, loss of fertility, loss of biodiversity, and loss of ecosystem services. And also it is suffering a prices crisis that makes that there are long periods in which the profitability is low below the operating costs. The operating costs are low below the market price, as you can see in this graphic. So in this situation, trying to face these two crises is when Olivares Vivos was conceived. It was designed to face these problems together. So the main objective at the beginning for us is to recover the biodiversity of the olive groves, but to turn this biodiversity into profitability. Because we have to bear in mind always that in agriculture we need profitability. We can expect any kind of sustainability if farmers can get an income and a way of life from their crops. So to deal with this, we must go beyond the farming system. We must focus in the whole food supply. So, of course, starting with the two ends, the producers and the consumers, but also working with other members of the value chain, like retailers, bottlers, traders, etc. In fact, I think that this is what the farm-to-fork strategy from European Union tried to do, and we were some years ahead of this strategy. So to connect these two ends of the value chain, our strategy was to scientifically design and certify a new way of managing the olive groves, a way that preserves biodiversity, and to make then this model profitable by putting this added value in the market, thanks to a certification seal. This seal, Olivares Vivos, is not just another seal. It is the first and right now the only one that focuses only on biodiversity, and that not only requires the implementation of good practices, but it needs to demonstrate results. It needs verifiable results. So in 2015, we got the support of the European Union thanks to the LIFE program, and we started with this journey. We are several partners in this journey. LIFE, the Spanish Ornithological Society, is the coordinator. The University of Jaén is participating with two different research groups, one focused in ecology and another one focused in marketing of olive oil. The Spanish National Research Council is working hand in hand with the ecology group of the University of Jaén, and also we have the participation of the Provincial Council of Jaén. So we started working very hard, and since the beginning, the whole project was conceived as a demonstration project. The first step was to select 40 different demonstration farms. We chose to work in Andalusia because it's the largest area of olive groves in the world, and we can find the most of the different kinds of olive groves that can be found in the Mediterranean. The entire project was designed following a scientific methodology. Among these different olive groves that we selected, we choose groves with different sizes, different degrees of intensification, and also placed in different landscape environments. Then, in each of the farms, and for a whole year, we were measuring the pre-operational condition, the pre-operational biodiversity of the farms using these 5 indicators. And this study was the largest study has ever been done about biodiversity in the olive groves. The results that we obtained at the beginning pointed that despite there is a big decline of biodiversity over the last decades, the olive groves still host a very large, very great biodiversity, but also that it is very regularly distributed, having some orchids much more diversity than others. But the good news is that these second orchids with less biodiversity, they have still a great potential to recover the biodiversity. It has shown us also that there are still many things to learn in the olive groves. For instance, we have discovered a species that is new to science in one of the demonstration olive groves, the Linaria cartovensis. When we finished with this monitoring of biodiversity, we started to design action plans to recover biodiversity in 20 of these demonstration olive groves. These plans were based in an agroenvironmental scheme, which is divided in 3 main lines of actions. The first one is to improve the management of the herbaceous cover. So we want to achieve an ecological and functional layer. This means no more herbicides and to control the weeds through mechanical systems. Second is restoring the many non-productive areas that can be found in the olive groves, like the sides of the dirty roads or the banks of small streams. And the third line of this environmental eco-scheme is to place and to construct some structures to help the local fauna. Structures as nest boxes, ponds for amphibians, water troughs, or small stone walls. The action plans based on this agroenvironmental scheme were implemented in 20 of the olive groves, while the other 20 remained as control plots. This implementation required a lot of effort, and it was done partially thanks to volunteer work, but mainly with the collaboration of a specialized restoration team. Now, just a small break. You may wonder how biodiversity, this biodiversity we want to recover, can help farmers to increase their profitability. We have seen some examples here, but there are mainly three main answers to these questions. The first one is the consistent services that help us to reduce the use of agrochemicals. We can have less use of pesticides and fertilizers. Second one is the payment for environmental services, because there are more and more systems to award those farmers that they are working well. And in the Common Agricultural Policy, now we have the new eco schemes, and the actions required to implement these agro-environmental schemes sometimes are the same that are required to fulfill these eco schemes and to get the payment from the European Union. And furthermore, biodiversity brings, and this is our main work in the project, brings a significant added value to the final product, to the olive oil, that is increasingly demanded by the consumer, increasingly appreciated by consumers. At the same time we were doing all this work, we carried out market studies, so we wanted to find out what was the profile of the potential consumers of this certified oil. For that, we did these market studies in 4 different countries of the European Union, UK, Denmark, Germany, and Spain. And based on the results of this study, we designed the promotion and communication material and strategies focusing the consumers. The project also has been working to promote the culture related with the olive. We have been working mainly with school children. We have designed specific activities and materials for them to learn in the classroom, but also to play in the playground. And we have been also working with the municipalities, since they are the authorities closest to the farmers. We have created a network of municipalities that supports Olivares Vivos, and this has been of a great help also for the project, because they have helped providing logistical support to organize different meetings with farmers, and they have also helped to raise awareness in the sector. We have also developed a line of work focused on the promotion of this certification seal. So we wanted to test also how the different strategies were accepted or not by the consumers. And among the many activities we have done, we have created a specific web page for the promotion of the certified olive oils. We have organized, we have recorded a promotional spot. We have created many videos for the social media. We have tested the labels. We have created new packaging designs. And the project, of course, has been present in many sectorial fairs, in many meetings, conferences, seminars, workshops, etc. We have tested the effectiveness of the communication and promotion and actions with new surveys in the same 4 countries where we were working at the beginning. So we know now which communication strategy fits better with the different target groups and which are our potential consumers. 3 years after the implementation of the action plans we have seen before, we measured again the biodiversity. We follow the same methodology, and we did the same sampling effort as in the pre-operational stage. As you can see in these graphics, the sampling effort was the same, but the number of records increased a lot, was much higher, and this gave us a first clue about the success of these agro-environmental schemes. The results obtained after just 3 years, it's only 3 years, are very promising. We had a significant improvement in the richness of most of the indicators, and this increase has been even higher in those olive groves that in the beginning of the project they were more intensively managing. That means they were eliminating completely the herbaceous cover of the soil. But not only the richness has increased, but also the abundance has improved. Look, for instance, the improvement in pollinators has been spectacular. It's only 3 years. But I must insist that this result is only after 3 years, and the biodiversity needs more time to react. But with all the data that were gathered, we modeled the potential for biodiversity recovery, and we found out that in those olive groves that in the beginning were in the worst situation, I mean, simple landscape and this intensively management of herbaceous cover, the potential of recovering is up to 35%. But besides the monitoring of biodiversity, we have also monitored different parameters related with the productivity and with the use of different inputs in the cultivation. The adoption of this model, of the Olivares Vivos model, Olivares Vivos is olives for life, did not affect at all to the productivity, and it helped to reduce the use of pesticides in those farms that were intensively managed at the beginning. The reducing the use of these chemicals was at 22%. Finally, collecting and analyzing and processing all the information that we have got during the project, we have worked on the establishment of a certification scheme, establishing the requirements and outlining how it will be the certification process. This certification is the tool that we have to transfer the added value of the recovery of biodiversity to the olive market. And this certification will assure the consumer that the oil produced in these farms is produced in farms that truly are recovering their biodiversity. This certification scheme is divided in two different standards. One is for the farms, and a second one is also to guarantee the traceability, to track all the product from the farm to the bottle. The standards are based in the scientific work of the project, and for this task, to translate all this scientific work to the standard, we have had the help of AENOR, which is one of the most recognized certification companies in Europe. So we have this whole set of good practice that are working. All these results are supported by a solid scientific methodology, and they are being published in relevant scientific journals, and they are presented in a specific and specialized conference. But also we have another information that is very positive for us, is that the olive sector is really interested in this model. In this graph, you can see the growing number of farmers that have reached us during these 5 years to learn more about the certification, to inscribe their names in the, let's call it the waiting list when the certification will be open, that will be at the end of this year. So they are really interested in starting to learn about this and starting to certify their farms. But besides being effective, good practice should be feasible and replicable, and we believe that Olivares Vivos scheme is simple, is very well understood by farmers, and is also very well understood by consumers. So we have good practice that are working, we have a project that has awakened the interest of the consumer, and we have this certification standard as a good tool, as a good strategy to connect farmers and consumers. So now what? Now our objective is to extend this model across Europe. So our strategy to replicate the model is to do it via this certification scheme, but also we want to encourage and to ask the European Union to look for synergies with the agricultural policies to accelerate this replication. We are now lucky because we have had again the support of the LIFE program, the environmental LIFE program of the European Union, to accelerate this replication. So we have set a new whole set of demonstration farms in new replication areas. 2 of these replication areas are located here in Greece, one in Crete and another one in the Peloponnese. And we are working with a new partner in this project, a Greek partner, which is Dimitra. And we are implementing a new set of actions to accelerate this replication. First, actions that are aiming to adapt the model to the new areas. So we are working in these demonstration farms in new geographical context, and we will assess again the biodiversity, and we will see if it behaves in the same way that it did in Andalusia. Then there is a group of actions to promote and replication the model. For that, we will organize training courses, mainly focused to farmers, but also to certifiers. And finally, there is a complete set of actions to promote the certification seals in the new countries and in also the consuming countries. So we can really communicate about the added value to the consumers. It is a big challenge to involve farmers and consumers, but it's even a bigger challenge to involve the authorities at the European level. But we are working very hard on this because we believe that the work and these kind of models are really will really help to achieve many of the objectives of the different European Union strategies. Besides biodiversity, with this kind of models and with our model, we can improve the green infrastructure. As we have seen, we can reduce the use of chemicals. We can increase the connectivity at landscape level. And we can also help to mitigate climate change because with a good management of the weeds in the olive groves, we can increase our carbon sequestration. And just to finish, I think it's worth to say that the project has also served as a playground for the new Common Agricultural Policy. Now we really know and we have solid information to demonstrate that olive groves is a key agroecosystem to get the Common Agricultural Policy environmental objectives regarding biodiversity. And we have already tested some eco-schemes that we know that they are effective and they can be easily measured. We know that there are two basic issues that should be considered in the design of these eco-schemes that they are right now under discussions in the different countries. First is that it's very important to keep a hair cover in the permanent crops, agronomically functional. It's something that here in Greece is very common, but in Spain there are large areas with bare soil with a lot of problems of erosion, and this herb cover will really increase the biodiversity, really increase to halt this loss of fertility and this loss of soil. And then the second one is that it's very important to restore the non-productive areas. We have some also that there is a lot of farmers interested in changing some aspects of their management to increase biodiversity and to increase their ecosystem services, but they really need support. They really need support in terms of a policy that will reward them, but also in terms of training. They need training. They need learn how to use these ecosystem services. We have learned also that it's possible to recover biodiversity even in the small farms, and this tells us that the Common Agricultural Policy must have this into account when defining who is able to get the subsidies, and not to forget the small farmers. Also that rural development programs from the so-called before the second pillar of the CAP should focus in non-productive investments, investment aimed at restoring the natural and semi-natural habitats that are around the crops, and also that these rural development programs should launch strategy and should promote a strategy to use the different added values of the cultivation. The biodiversity is one of these added values, and it's the one we are working with, but there are many other added values, the cultural values, the social values. The olive groves is the glue that is keeping the people in the territory. So we believe that Olivares Vivos also can be a reference for these new approaches of business and biodiversity strategies, because it really introduced the biodiversity in the business model, and it encouraged farmers to undertake this kind of approaches. So for all the people involved in Olivares Vivos, it represents our commitment with biodiversity and with the future of agriculture. we would like to count with all of you as producers, as members of the different parts of the value chain, as producers. And okay, I want to finish thanking all the people that has been involved in the project, but mainly thanking all the farmers that since the beginning has supported our project and has allowed us to go in their farms and to do all this, to start all this project in their farm. We have some of these farmers and producers here today with us, and that's all. Thank you very much for your attention. I will be glad to answer any questions you will have.